Hey everyone, today I'm going to show you something that was recently released inside of Storyline that allows you to create custom animations just by using the AI assistant. So you do need to have the AI assistant. If you don't have the AI assistant, you can still do JavaScript animations, custom animations. You can check out all my previous videos here where I talk about that, and even my tool, my GSAP animation tool, if you don't have the AI assistant. If you do have the AI assistant, this makes it so much easier to be able to use the AI assistant to tell it to animate different things on the stage, off the stage, and describe the type of animations that you want. It is still in beta, so there may be things that you run into that's a little frustrating, just like anything AI initially when you're working with it. But it allows you to do so much just by prompting here. And this honestly is where I see development going. E-learning development, storyline development, Rise development. I see this being more like Lovable if you worked with Lovable, where you're not really necessarily laying everything out. You're telling it exactly in the AI assistant how to lay out, what type of page you want, what type of interaction you want. That's really where I see learning development going. And I've been working with Lovable and Cursor for a long time now, and that's exactly where web development is going. So creating content just by prompting is probably where Storyline is eventually going to go, if I had to guess. So let's go ahead and dive in here and talk a little bit about this. Now, just so you know, it does not create any type of animation just from the basics. Like Storyline by default is pretty basic when it comes to animation. So a lot of these custom animations are JavaScript. So in the AI assistant, what it's going to do is it's going to generate JavaScript for you automatically, which is tremendously nice. I try to make it as easy as possible with my different JavaScript snippet tools, my GSAP tools as well. But having it right within the tool, even if it like makes my tool redundant or just unnecessary, is fine with me because it makes it easier to develop. So let's go ahead and dive in here. So first of all, you have to make sure that you are on the latest version of Storyline. Make sure that you have that downloaded and upgraded, ready to go. But now if I come into the AI assistant, you'll notice this new beta. So in the new beta, it can create custom JavaScript based animations. Not JavaScript everything, although I think eventually they'll get there as well, but custom JavaScript animation. Now create summaries and quizzes based on, that's pretty much what's been there already, generate sound effects, voiceovers. That's what you've been able to do with the AI assistant already. And if you want to explore this, you can also click on give me some ideas of what it can do. Well, what I want to do is animate this square. So when you animate, and it's important to actually just name your object square, circle, triangle, especially when I'm talking with the AI assistant, because then I can just say, hey, animate the square down and rotate it at the same time. So those are things that you can do. Now, it is also important to understand what type of animations you can do. Movement, rotation, opacity, and then the type of easing that you can do as well. So we'll talk a little bit about easing and what easing is, but these are terms that are important to know, especially when you're prompting, because you need to define it. I want this to ease, I want this to bounce, I want this to take 5 seconds, I want this to rotate, I want this to go change the opacity to 0. Things like that is important to know. All right, so we're going to be talking to the square here. So let's go ahead and chat and say animate the square down and rotate it by 180 degrees. And I haven't tried the actual when you click on a button here, so I'm going to try this. When you click on the animate square button. So it's going to take a look at it. It's going to analyze it for a second, like all AI kind of assistants here. And then it's going to give you the type of code that it's going to apply here. So in this case, it says to achieve this, I will create an animation square to move down and rotate by 180 degrees, exactly what I'm asking for here. And when the animate square button is clicked, this is again a reason why you want to name your objects, including your buttons, including your shapes, anything that you actually have here. So it makes your life a whole lot easier when you try to describe it to the AI assistant. Simultaneously rotate it, or the square will translate downward relative in its current position, and the animation will be triggered when the square. Would you like me to create the JavaScript trigger? Then I just say yes. Now, if you want to give it feedback, there are thumbs up and thumbs down icons that you can say, yes, that's exactly what I want. And it helps train the AI model as well. Now what it does is it gives me a preview of what that animation is going to look like and what that code is going to look like. So if I just expand this a little bit and let's just give it more room. Okay, so I'm just trying to understand exactly what the code is doing here. So it added on an event listener of click. So when that button is clicked, it's going to run that code, which is interesting because it added on this code when the timeline starts. So even though I defined it to happen when it clicked, it did not add a click trigger. I'm not sure why, but eventually I see that happening where it will add on a click trigger if I define it that way. But in this case, this still works as well. I could actually copy a lot of that code and paste it into the event if I wanted to. But in this case, I'm thinking the AI assistant with this animation just adds it as soon as the timeline starts. But I can define it like when the timeline ends or as soon as the person clicks on this or when they hover over this. That would just be added all through JavaScript. So let's go back into our AI assistant. So this is happening as soon as this clicked. And what it's doing is it's using the JavaScript API inside a storyline to add this to the timeline. Now, adding it to the timeline allows you to control it. Because this is happening on the button, I'm not sure if that's necessary. But again, it's not really hurting it either. So adding it to the timeline so you can see square animate. And what it needs to do is it needs to have a starting position. And so the starting position is X and Y. So the X is going to be 0 and the Y is going to be 0, meaning that it's going to start at its initial. I hope it doesn't actually move it up here. We'll see. And then it's going to move it down by 200. So I said down, which means the Y value. So it's going to go down. Then it's going to start at the rotation of 0, meaning it's not going to be rotated at all to begin with. And then this is going to rotate to 180 degrees. Now, I have had questions on why I use GSAP compared to regular custom JavaScript animation. The reason why I use that is because, I mean, you can do custom regular animation, that's fine, but GSAP to me is so much easier because you only have to adjust where the ending point is going to be, or if you are on the ending point, where the starting point is going to be. So it actually simplifies the code because here you have to have both the starting and the ending point in order for this to work. Why Storyline doesn't use GSAP, even though it's integrated inside of it, I don't know. They always seem to like better just the regular vanilla animation. So I don't know, but like there's some people that like it better. There's some people that don't. So in my opinion, I like the GSAP animation a little bit better, but if this will generate the JavaScript for me and do a good job, I'm okay with this as well. All right, so and the opacity is not going to change between those two different things. Now this is where you start to add the different options here. Now again, simplified in GSAP, you add all these options together with where it's going to move. But with regular JavaScript, it adds it on as a separate section. So the different things is the duration, 1000. So that's 1000 milliseconds, which is 1 second. It's going to be, the fill is going to be forwards. And then here is our easing. So the easing is a cubic Bezier. Why it shows that, I'm not sure. But there's different types of easings that you can do. And easing is like how you adjust, okay, when this bounces at the end, or if it animates towards the end, or if it slows down, or if it goes a little bit beyond and comes back. That is easing. So I can define that, and knowing some of the terms of easing will help me do that as well. But let's go ahead and take a look at this. So I'm going to go ahead and preview this. The JavaScript and the trigger have been added to Storyline so far. All right, so nothing is happening so far, even though that JavaScript ran at the very beginning of the timeline. But if I click on the square, notice also nothing is happening as well. So let me get rid of let's come back in here, remove when the button is clicked, and just have the animation run at the start of the timeline. Now I think I threw it off by the click, and so maybe we just need to generate the code and then adjust it to a click here. So let's go ahead and see what happens. Now if I want to see what's happening here, I can expand this out, and you can see that it's removed the button and it just has it to add to timeline. So I think this is going to be a little bit better for us. Let's come back into our JavaScript. Let's click on execute JavaScript here, and you can see it's updated that code right there. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and preview this. If you want to check out more, or if you want to learn the basics of JavaScript, even though Storyline is going to be doing a lot of this for you, if you want to learn the basics, you can check out my course. This course will show you exactly the what different types of variables and what is a variable, what's a condition, things like that where we dive deep into JavaScript. So check that out. Now this animation already played for me, so I'm going to go ahead and click on replay here, and we'll replay the slide. And you can see there's the animation. It starts from the top, it rotates, and it comes down to the bottom. So let's stick with that. If I wanted to adjust this when the button clicked, I can go ahead and adjust that here. So coming into this trigger, I can just double click, and instead of when timeline starts, I can go ahead and move this up to user clicks. And we're going to say not when the user clicks the triangle, but when the user clicks on the animate square here. And just by doing that and adjusting the event when it happens, we can now trigger this as soon as the button is clicked. So we don't have to have the JavaScript do that for us. It doesn't seem to work specifically. But now if I click on this, you can see that the animation happens there. Great. All right, great. Good start. Let's go ahead and animate the triangle here. So I'm going to go in here back into my AI assistant. And let's say now I want to animate the triangle down. And I want this to change the opacity from 1 to 0 by the end of the animation. Okay, so let's see what happens with this trigger. It should create another trigger for us and not add on to that, but I'm thinking maybe it might, but let's go ahead and see. I'm going to expand this out. You can see now it's targeting the triangle, which is great. It is starting our opacity at 1, and it is also animating it down by 200, and it's going from 1 to 0. It has the default cubic Bezier easing. It has the duration of 1 second as well, so everything is good. Let's go into our animation, and you can see it's added on this new timeline starts animation, which, as we know, we can change that to a button. But for now, let's just go ahead and have this run as soon as the animation starts. So you can see here, it faded down and it changed the opacity. So there's different things like that. Now let's go ahead and play with some of the easing. The easing allows us to affect how it slows down or how it starts out fast or something like that. So I'm going to go ahead and adjust this. And I want to get the exact amount where I want this. I want this to bounce it off right about there. So you can see here by getting the Y value, you can see that it's about 319. That's exactly how far I want it to move. So let's go back into the AI assistant here. Now in the AI assistant, let's animate the circle down to 319 pixels. And then we're going to go ahead and animate at the end of the animation, add a bounce easing. So let's see how this changes the animation. So I'm not fading it out or anything like that. So here we are. It is basically targeting that object. It is adding the opacity. It does that every single time. It does animate it down to 319, which is great. But then it's still using the cubic Bezier, which is adding, and I think because of these adjustments, I really haven't used the cubic Bezier a lot. There is inside of GSAP something called a bounce easing. So I've used that a lot, which simplifies it. But you can see here, it's adding a lot of values there and the amount of time in order for that to animate. So let's just make sure that we have the trigger there. There is our trigger. I'm going to see if this is the right one here or if it's the other one. And I think that is the other one. So let's go into this one, the second one here, animate circle. And that's the one. So we have this cubic Bezier. There we go. So I'm going to animate this and see what it looks like here. So it bounced a little bit, but it didn't exactly go all the way where I wanted it to go. So I think we may need to adjust some of the numbers. And we can try to do that through the AI assistant, or we can go right into the JavaScript and adjust it there too. Let's see if we can do this. The bounce for the circle was too slow, and it did not make it all the way to 319 at the end of the animation. So this is where you start to troubleshoot. This is where you say, okay, go back and forth. You're iterating and you're saying this isn't exactly working. This is not happening. So it's important to go in and preview it to make sure everything is good there. So I'm going to expand this out here. And now you can see that it adjusted the Bezier curve a little bit, not by much. In fact, it adjusted it from 1.55, which I think is the number of seconds, to 1.25. So you can continue to adjust this how you want, but honestly, it'd probably be easier if you just go in and enter in the numbers like, okay, I want this to be 0.9 seconds instead of 0.125 or 1.25. So it changed it a little bit, but this is where I would get frustrated myself going back and saying, no, do this, now do that. And so it does take some practice. It may be the terminology of what I used. I'll continue to play with it to see if I can get it exact as well. But let's move on here. What I want to do here on this one is I want to animate all the balloons. So I'm going to make sure that I don't have any starting JavaScript here or starting animations. I think I have a shake one for some reason, so I'm going to remove that shake. But now let's come in and add on animation. In order for one to come in at a time, so you want the first one, second one, third one, and so forth. What that term is called is staggering. So you want to stagger the first, second, third, even though they're all doing the same animations. So by using the term stagger will help Storyline know that you need to go in and have it one at a time. So I'm going to come in here and animate all the balloons and have them stagger or animate. Let's describe the animation first. Have them animate in from the bottom into their current spots. So it knows that it's going to animate from the bottom, current spots, and bounce the balloon at the end of the animation and have them all stagger in one at a time. This is the beauty about it, is because I can target several things. I can take a page that's already laid out and say, hey, give me some ideas on how to animate this. I want to have this animate first, and then this animate second. And then it will translate that into the JavaScript. So I'm going to take a look at this code, and I like to describe it a little bit before we get into it. But what it does is it targets all 5 balloons, which is great. And it puts all of those balloons inside of an array. So therefore, any application or any type of like style that we apply to it, we just do one line of code instead of having to do several. Let me scroll back here. So now this balloon style opacity equals 0 is just going to be 1 instead of having to do balloon 1 opacity 0, balloon 2 opacity 0. So it helps simplify the code. Now what it does is it adds each of these to the timeline. So what it does, and this is interesting, and inside of GSAP, and maybe I'm more biased with GSAP, but inside of GSAP, there is a stagger property that allows me to do one at a time without having to duplicate the code. With vanilla JavaScript animation, it is duplicating the code. So you can see here, add to timeline, animates, and then you can see that it's going to do forwards, and there's our Bezier curve, and then you can see right here, it adds a delay. So technically it is staggering, but it is easier to do it inside of GSAP. Come on, Storyline, let's add GSAP code in here. But let's go ahead and preview this here. So you can see there's our animation one at a time. Simple, you don't even need to know the JavaScript. This is where it doesn't matter GSAP or not. If you're not even touching the JavaScript, that's fine. You can just describe what you want, not even look at the JavaScript, and then go ahead and do that. But just be prepared. If you don't know the terms, you might have to go back and forth quite a bit on that. So this is how you start to apply these animations. Now I'm going to go into a page right here. I want to go ahead and have this pop in a little bit. So we're going to do a little bit of an animation, a different type of animation. I want this to scale. Now scale is basically increasing the size or decreasing the size. So I want this to scale in and pop at the end of the animation. Animate in each feature, and I'm using the term feature because that's what it's named over here, one at a time from the left to the right. Now I did make a little bit of a misspell there, that's fine. But let's go ahead and see what it's writing here. So it's going to do that same type of stagger where it has a delay, and it has the duration on each of them, which is 1.2 seconds. And you can see that it is animating the scale from 0 to 1.2. So it's going to go there, and then it's going to scale back to 0, where it's going to end. And that's going to give us that little pop. All right, so let's go ahead and just show this here. Now we have a problem. It came in, it popped a little bit, but then it faded out. So I think it's changing the opacity to 0. So at the end of it, yep, right here, it changes it to, let's scroll over, sorry. I don't think it's even using opacity, which is interesting because it used opacity all the time. So you can see right here, there's opacity set to 0, but I don't think it changes the opacity back. Okay, so let's go ahead and troubleshoot that. The cards animated in, but then faded out at the end. Them on the screen. Do not fade them out. It's not going to be perfect. Whenever I'm working with Lovable or Cursor, it's always initially not perfect. So you always have to iterate. You always have to go back and forth. Sometimes that can be frustrating, But what I've noticed, I've been doing that since February. What I've noticed is I've either gotten better at it, or it's learned to know my terminology, or it's basically just gotten better in general. The JavaScript, the AI assistants inside of Lovable and Cursor has just gotten better. So those are the things that it takes practice, it takes getting used to on that. All right, so let's see how this works here. So I'm gonna go down and just make sure that the opacity is set, which it doesn't look like that. Oh, right here. So opacity 00 or 011. All right, so let's go ahead and preview that now and see if this is better. Now, there is one more thing with this AI assistant is I can actually change this. Right now, I've been going back into the page and I've been changing the AI assistant, mostly because that's what I'm used to. But there is a better way of doing this, and I'm gonna restart this again, and let's just go ahead and see what it looks like. Yeah, that is perfect. So that is basically bouncing. And because I'm previewing this inside of Parallels, it looks a little bit more choppy, but when I export this out, it's gonna be smooth. But right here, this is what I'm talking about. If I want to change this, I actually don't need to exit out the preview. I can actually come back in here and then let's say try to add something. I haven't tried this. Add a little shake when the pop animation is done. So I'm describing it specifically when that other animation is done, do something else. So let's go ahead and see what happens. Now something else kind of faded away. The features went away after they came in. So this helps you and saves you a little bit of time instead of having to exit out of the preview and going back into it. This saves you a whole lot of time to just chat with it right inside of here. So we're still having an issue. Remove the shake at the end of the animation. It is not working. So let's revert back to what we had here. Okay, so if it doesn't work, you can revert back and you can say, hey, remove that. But let's try one more thing. I wanna go ahead and see if I can animate it when I hover over this feature, if I can animate it scaling by 0.2 or something like that. Scale the feature by 0.2 when I hover over the feature, and only do this when I hover. Scale it back to 1 when I exit the feature or hover out. That's a little bit of a challenge just with JavaScript in general inside a storyline because of the way that it handles hovers. So I'm just curious to see if this works. So now I'm gonna hover over and nope, it didn't work. All right, so just testing some of the different things that you can do here. This to me is a tremendous start. It is not perfect, but it is something that's still in beta, and I think they're just going to get more and more. I have seen where you can even tell as far as like a preview that's coming up where you can tell Storyline to position this, center this, and that is just layouts. So I think they're getting there where you're just prompting to create different things. And basically, I'm hoping that you can prompt to create triggers and conditions and other things like that. So this is a little bit of a preview. I wanted to go ahead and show you this. Let me know in the comments below what you think is not as good, what you've tried that is not working. Things like that, I'm curious to know. And also what other ideas, what other things can you animate inside a storyline using this new JavaScript feature? If you like this video, head on over to my YouTube channel, click that like button, subscribe to my channel, as well as hit the bell notification so you get notified of all future videos as they come out. That really helps my channel, allows me to continue to grow, to reach more learning developers like you that want to extend and customize more of like Storyline and Rise and other things like that. Also, if you want to check out more, you can head on over to my website at learningdojo.ninja. Here you can check out all different apps that I've created. These are different coaching apps, Stream Crusher apps, checklists, GSAP animation tool that I've referenced, the JavaScript storyline snippets tool as well. I have full courses covering everything from A to Z in Articulate Storyline, JavaScript for Storyline if you want to get to know the basics of JavaScript, XAPI fundamentals, Articulate Rise, Custom Scorm, as well as all of my previous blog posts. You can check those out and download free templates. All right, that's all I have for today. So thanks everyone. I'll see you next time.